Today the theme is married to truth or married to love. And it came to me when I was sitting at this rock, right, at this beautiful lake. And I just could feel what wanted to happen for this group today was actually a marriage between human, divine, between the marriage that comes from our commitment from last time. Each of you was invited to make a commitment, and I don't know if you followed through or not, but we'll dive into that in our sharing a little bit. But the deepest commitment really comes when we utterly give ourselves as onto the truth or onto love, or you could say onto presence, whatever word resonates for you. As here we welcome, all the different expressions of the divine. For some it is truly, a Mary God, or in the Christian mysticism, it was the woman becomes the bride of Christ. In the Hindu tradition, there's also this eternal wooing and marriage with the divine. And you find it even in Buddhism, even though Buddhism doesn't use words like we are, marrying something outside of ourselves, but it's the invitation to marry your own heart, to marry your own goodness, to make this the primary relationship, the primary beloved of your life. And as in any relationship, in the beginning, when I was on the path, you fall in love. And I'm sure you all have experienced it with, maybe a person or on the spiritual path. There's this initial falling in love, like, oh my God, this is the best thing that could ever happen, and all my woes will disappear, and I'm eternally fulfilled. It happened to me when I was in India and studying with a great saint and master. That's the first time I got the glimpse of truth or love that just enraptured me. So for months and months, I was in this rapture, and I thought it would never end, of course. It was so blissful. It was like incredible. I could see through all the delusions, and I was just in bliss. Well, and then it felt like it was just the carrot that got me into more into the temple. So I went after the carrot just to get more, and partly also to escape my own suffering. Now, it's usually how we begin the spiritual path. There's always this promise of eternal salvation. And if we only practice enough, if we only love enough, if we only, surrender enough, then there won't be any suffering anymore, and we will be liberated. That's the promise. It looks as it looks, on a sheet of paper. And and it gets you in with that falling in love phase. I don't know if any of you had it or for moments. And then comes then of course, it's easy to say, oh yes, I engage myself with you. And I engage myself to love, or, the human relationship with a partner is similar to that. And you get engaged. You receive the kiss of soul. The kiss of soul is really the breath of life. And you feel more life and more peace, maybe more at ease in this world, more in sync with yourself. And you taste this connectedness that we many times taste here on the field of love, and probably also in your own ways. And then at some point, of course, there's some troubles, but you'll find your way through, and you realize it's maybe not all pink flowers and glories. And I had to realize that pretty soon as well. My suffering wasn't just magically dissolving, unfortunately. and the more deeper I got in, the more, of course, I experienced love, but I also experienced the rising of all the unresolved issues that I so badly wanted to get away from. And I thought, well, this is getting rather uncomfortable. Maybe we'll just take a step back from this engagement. But somehow my soul had already chosen, and there was no way out. There was a way out. You always have a choice to depart from your practice, to depart from the spiritual path. And the carrot wasn't tasting so sweet anymore. It's like, it's like at some point it's like, oh man, I don't really want to feel this pain or this anger. And so it was like, wow, it's not magically disappearing. And then came the question over and over again, will you marry yourself to the truth, to love itself, even though you may experience rejection, even though you may experience everything under the sun you have tried to avoid, even though you will undergo a great stripping of all what you cherish, of all the beliefs you hold so tight, and truly enter into this sacred union, into a path, the pathless path. I was at some point where it wasn't a conscious choice. It just came upon me, that at some point it's just like, it was just a natural movement. Yes, I will marry myself onto you. Little did I know what it entailed. Little did I know what it meant to marry myself to the divine, to the real, to life itself, to love. And it was like, as if you are, some of you are in relationship, and so you experience everything under the sun and the moon. You experience the whole, if you really open, you experience the joy, the pain, the wildness, the constriction, the fear, the, oh my God, I'm going to just stop this crap, to I hate this, to I'm completely in love. Yeah, it's like a divine madness. And many mystics describe this phase of you're married and suddenly the divine madness starts unfolding. It's like you probably experience it in your own human house, that suddenly you have so many parts of you and you can't, they come into your awareness. The greater your presence grows, suddenly there is, the abundant child, the total in love mystic, the devoted practitioner, the part of you that just wants to drink and get stoned. I mean, whatever parts you have, the one that's always fighting, the part of the mind that just tries to keep control, the emotions that run rapid. And you sit there like, who am I in all of this? Who are you in this human divine madness? And there's something, if you have made this commitment, as big or as small as you have already made it, this commitment, this anchor, being married to the truth or being engaged with love, that calls us back, that anchors us down, that in all the waves of the sea, something from the stillness deep inside that calls you, that says, come home to where the truth resides, come home from the head into the heart, from the mind's craziness and all the identifications that you seek yourself in. Come home to that what has no name. What is this eternal flame? What is this incredible aliveness pulsating through you right now? This very thing you cannot put in a box, and yet you see in the wind, in the call of the birds flying across the sky. You can hear in the moment between your breath this thing you cannot name, this longing inside that will not be quenched, and this promise that only there, in this place you may call home, everything comes to rest. All the voices, all the identities we have made with so much labor and care, all the longings, all the aches and betrayals, all this can come to rest in this home, in this temple that not only is represented by divine beings, but truly it lives inside of you. So simple and epic at the same time. And being married to love itself does not mean you divorce yourself from your humanity, because it is only through your humanity that you truly come to embody the love or the truth that's beating in our hearts right now. And so as we keep going deeper in the commitment to the truth that created us, that is us, that lives us, it does not mean that we have to cut parts away. It does not mean we have to indulge in our stories and beliefs. But it does mean that in the moments of our day-to-day life, in our interactions, for example, with others, to ask simple question inside: what does truth want me to live now? What does love want to speak now? Do I want to be, and it can be as very specific as to want to be right, or do I want to be aligned? It can mean to say, and in this, through my vulnerability, I will touch my own vulnerability. I will allow it, radically allow it, and be present with it. For it is my gateway into even deeper love, even greater love. It may mean to sharpen your sword so that your discrimination or your, I don't know the right word for it, that you can discriminate between what is lie and what is truth in a world that has a huge display of mixed in lies and truth. You never know what is real and what is not. But something begins to sharpen inside. It's like the arrow that becomes, that will not miss its mark so easily the more you practice and marry yourself to the greatest lover you have ever known. You marry yourself to the truth itself. In your day-to-day spiritual practice, but also in your daily life. So that fear is not sitting square on the altar. It gets a place in the table, on the table. It has its place, but you do not worship it. That means in very practical ways, when the fear grips you, you neither dismiss it, nor deny it, nor run with it. It's not your God. It's this old saying, do not have other gods before me, or something like this. Sorry if I get this wrong. It's the old Bible saying. But really, it means like, whom do you worship? What do you worship? And there is something really beautiful when we begin to worship that what we are committed to. It's a devotion. I put onto my altar my heart, or I put onto my altar the truth. Now, teach me, show me the way. It's a humble prayer that is always heard by the universe. And sometimes this love would say, I love you so much that I will bring up everything in you. Only, and I've said this many times, to bring everything home. And it will bring up the good, the bad, all the whole range of duality. For a while I thought, oh yeah, evil is, this is not for me. I'm not gonna even give it any attention. That was in the beginning. At some point, love said to me, even that you must face. Even that you must recognize and meet. For only then liberation will be complete. And we're not just practicing for our own liberation. We're also practicing for all living beings on this earth. That, the field of love is always there, but it doesn't mean we always act from that or feel connected to that. And especially when we face the duality in this world right now, and it's getting more and more extreme, yeah? You probably have noticed that. And these extremes are within us. They just become more clarified. And in this world, they act out because nobody really wants to deal with their own evil. Original is just the great separation. Yeah. Nobody wants to deal with the wars inside and the hatred. But love says, this too. This too. And so when we make this deep commitment, it's like, often in till death the parts. It's like that's in a relational with a human being. But the till death departs doesn't apply when you're on the spiritual path, because there is no more death. Once your soul has surrendered to marry the truth, to be committed, then only this applies through sickness and health, through hardship and glorious days. No matter what arises. Let me be I'm married to the truth. I'm married with the love. And this deeper commitment then is strengthened by our everyday actions. And the more you bring your attention to that, the more you practice that, the more it gets embodied. And the more you, in my experience, the more freely can you walk in this world. That nothing ultimately is so scary anymore, because the safety is within that home. Even when what arises is, for most people it arises the sense of I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough, oh, here goes my old story again. It arises, remember this, life is the greatest teacher. It arises because this must be met. It's our humanity, it's our frailty, it's our not just mistaken beliefs, and just because you maybe let go of some beliefs doesn't mean that you won't have pain. We have the sense inside of us, because there's pain, something is wrong with me. If I only do enough healing, if I only do enough spiritual practice, it will dissipate. That's not necessarily true. Pain is here in this life, just like joy is here. And this deep acceptance towards the duality in our world and in our humanity, that's what is the most liberating, actually. To breathe with both, and these constant impermanence that it's happening. We don't like impermanence. As human beings, we're wired to have familiar, feel safe. But to constantly deal with all these changes that are happening now, even more extreme, is it can really unseat you and throw you when you expect life to be different. When we come to this even deep commitment to this marriage, there's something that is so stable that even impermanence, even the great changes cannot rock your boat as much as it used to. Because there's this knowing, yes, this too will change from good to bad, from joy to pain. Such is the way of life. There's something deeper. There's something vaster. This holds me. Or you could say, my beloved, my love holds me even through that. Carries me through hell and through heaven. And so making our commitment and really not trying, but practicing to return to it, and practicing to be true to it, whether it's in our speech, in our actions, without beating yourself up when you just forget, or not beating yourself up when you completely lost, but rather to say, may I return to my beloved in this moment. May I remember in this moment. May I speak true in this moment, even if I lied before. And then in that moment, our vessel becomes truly so much stronger. So this session today is really also a continuation of the anchoring that we did last time, just a little deeper. And you know, when you don't feel the devotion and you don't feel any of the divine whatsoever, then go towards that what seems the most separate. Go toward that what feels the greatest block. Because the divine is right in there, waiting for you. Waiting for you even in your greatest fear or in your greatest nightmare. And so, as we keep returning, we're building our vessel to be able to grow a lot more capacity to walk aligned in this nutty world, in this beautiful nutty world, until every time we pass a tree, we kiss it, and until every time we pass a human being, we throw a blessing their way. Until every time something arises within us that is unpleasant, we kiss it with our breath. And so this deeper practice is really of commitment, is really an invitation to land fully home. In that simple connectedness with all of life, in that simple connectedness with love itself that you are. You don't have to worship anything outside of you. It doesn't really matter whether you do it outside or inside, but the recognizing this flame, this deserving of your utmost attention. And devotion and service. So that invitation is also within challenge. That invitation is calling, hey, if you have a challenge, there's many, for everybody has a different calling in a challenge. But when we see life this way, that really there is nothing wrong in this life itself. And you're invited to really not just participate, but marry life. Marry your own divinity and humanity. Then you marry the whole world. And there is a freedom in there.